These notes say dividing. And if I look at the first instructions, the second, third, and fourth instructions are really just all about division. So let's take a slower look. We've already divided by something like 3r. You've also divided by things in parentheses, and then you were usually able to cancel some things out. But the purpose that they're doing this is just to remind you that really you are doing division. And there's another way that you can divide polynomials, and that's through long division. And sometimes you're going to have missing terms, and what this is going to end up looking like is having remainders. So let's look at the way these are presented. Number 1 says 3r squared minus 15r. And in parentheses, it's going to be divided by 3r. Now, I am okay with you rewriting these out of the textbook as a fraction, because that's going to be the first thing you're going to do is factor these and start canceling stuff out. But I really think they just want you to see that this division symbol means the same thing. So the left part's going to be in my numerator and the right part in the denominator. Now, out of these top two terms, I can factor out 3r, and that's going to leave me with r minus 5. And that's still over that original 3r. So canceling these two out, we'll be left with r minus 5, and then we can box that. Okay, 2 is going to look different. And the reason it will look different is, let's write this as n squared plus 10n plus 12 all over 5n. And your first inclination might be to factor this. But since they're telling us to divide these, and we're going to find each quotient, we're going to look at this a little bit differently. And maybe you did want to factor. So I'm looking for the factors of 12 that add up to 10, and nothing would really work out. So instead, I know that all of the top is going to get divided by 5n. So n squared is getting divided by 5n. So that would be its own fraction I could break apart. 10n is getting divided by 5n, so that could be its own fraction I would break apart. And then 12 is getting divided by 5n, so I could break all of these apart into 3 separate fractions. So I'm going to rewrite n squared over 5n plus 10n over 5n plus 12 over 5n. And then now when I go through and I try to simplify things, n squared over n becomes n over 5. 10 over 5 becomes 2. And n over n goes away. And then I can't really simplify this portion on the right, so I'm going to leave it as is. And that is the solution to this one. So it's kind of like factoring didn't work out, to where we could cancel things out, because we're really just dividing by a monomial down there. 3q cubed minus 6q over 3q gets rewritten. And, right off the bat, you might be able to see this factored, or maybe not, to where you could break it apart into 2 terms if you wanted. But I think this is easier done by breaking it into 3q times q squared minus 2. So I just factored out 3q from both of those terms. All of that will be over 3q. These guys go away, and I'm left with q squared minus 2. Some point in your math experience, you might see this factored as q plus square root of 2 times q minus square root of 2. Just an FYI. I think problem 4 can be an OYO problem, so give yourself a chance to do it on your own, but I will talk through it anyway. 4t to the 5th minus 5t squared minus 12 all over 2t squared. And as I look at this, I'm wanting things to factor, but I just have this, monomial term in the denominator, so I'm going to end up writing this as 4t to the 5th over 2t squared minus 5t squared over 2t squared minus 12 over 2t squared. The left one simplifies to 2t cubed minus 5 over 2 minus 12. 12 over 2 becomes 6 over t squared. And that's how you would do that one. So that's only 5.5 minutes. Let's move on to these next types of problems. So here we're going to divide a polynomial by a binomial, meaning that it has two separate terms. So here's s squared plus 6s minus 7 over s plus 7. I'm looking for the factors of negative 7 that add up to 6. Well, let's try to factor that as s plus 7 times s minus 1. And just like in the earlier chapters, I'll remind you that it's a nice idea to FOIL these out in your head to see if they still end up checking out and agreeing with what you originally suggested. That goes away, and I'm left with s minus 1. Now be careful, I'm writing with this on an iPad. That looks like 5 minus 1. So your s should be more neat and clear than mine is. Number 2. B squared minus 2b minus 15 over 3 plus b. And I don't see a problem with rewriting that as b plus 3, if you prefer. So I'm looking for the factors of negative 15 that add up to negative 2. So I'm going to write b minus 5 times b plus 3 over b plus 3. B plus 3's cancel out, and I'm left with b minus 5. Problem 3. Yeah, problem 3 will definitely be an OYO problem. So make problem 3 OYO. And after I finish writing it, I'm just going to get the solution written out too. So pause this video and try it out OYO. There's the answer. I won't talk through it. You have plenty of time to pause the video and figure out what happened. We'll save long division for the second video, just because this will make a nice stopping point.